And it is 8:30, so welcome to your questions answered, episode number 3. I'm Blakey here from Golf Rules Questions, and here to help you with the rules of golf. So in these your questions answered segments, take some questions that I've received on my platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, email. Take some questions that I've received and answer them in this segment. So it brings up some discussion and you can all find out a little bit more about the rules of golf. And then at the end, I give you a few minutes to ask any questions you might want to find out about a situation that's been bugging you. You can always chat. There's live chat there. Morning Jerry, up early, 5:30 a.m. in Ottawa. So let's get started. Well, actually, firstly, just have to run through you're obviously subscribed if you're watching this, because you can't watch it without being subscribed. But I'd absolutely love it if you joined. The minimum joining amount is $1.49 a month, pretty cheap. And also, finally got some merchandise. I think Roscoe has been talking about this for at least a year. So finally delivered. There's a little pin at the top of the chat you can click on, have a look at the merchandise. Bought myself a beanie as well, even though we're heading into summer. But yeah, rocking the Roo and Coo. So Roscoe's the cow and I'm the kangaroo, even though I'm from New Zealand. But we'll just keep that one quiet. So I had a question from Philip Olle. He sent a voice message on Anchor, which was fantastic. So hello to all the sandbaggers on the Mornington Peninsula. They play out of Rosebud Country Club. And his question was, what is the difference between the match play index and the stroke play index? Now, not quite a rule of golf, but certainly is in the bigger picture of the rules of golf. The stroke play index, so the rules state that you have to have a stroke play index when you play handicap or handicap competitions, so people know where they can collect strokes, and basically what par on the card is, they've got their own par because they get strokes on that hole. So effectively we see the pros, they play par 4s, par 3s, par 5s. Got it. Every course has those. But if you're not as good as a professional, then you're going to get handicap shots on certain holes. Or if you're really good, you're a plus handicapper, you might have to give a stroke back on the easiest hole if you're +1, and the 2 easiest holes if you're +2, so etc. So the stroke play index, every club will have one of those. But what's the match play index? Well, effectively the match play index was designed when a stroke play index was too unbalanced. I hope that's not an either. Where the harder holes were right at the start of your round or right at the end, so holes 1 and 2 or 17, 18, and effectively a close match, say if a 9 handicapper's playing a 10 or 11 handicapper and they get, the 11 handicapper gets 2 shots, if it was on 17, 18, they wouldn't get to use them and the round might be already over. Or if the round went through 18 and then they had to play playoff holes, and the playoff holes was the hardest hole, number 1 or number 2 was the second hardest or whatever, then they get strokes straight away. And it just seemed at the, when they were designing it, seemed like it was a bit of an advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you look at it from person's point of view. So they designed the match play index basically to try and balance it out. So the match play index that was around for a long time had the 8th hole as number 1, so it worked its way into sort of quadrants, and 1, 2, 3, 4 were broken up, and the easiest hole was actually number 1. The starting hole was always the 18th, and 16, 17, 18 were all around 6, 9 and 11 or something like that. Every second hole was odd and every second hole was even, every other hole was even type thing. Now that's basically where it came from. So the stroke play index is definitely going to be your hardest hole ranked to your easiest hole, but match play, it had nothing to do with what was your hardest hole. It's just about balancing out where the strokes for the players are going, where the players are going to get those strokes. Now a committee can adopt, obviously they're going to adopt a stroke play index. They can adopt a match play index if they wish. They don't have to. Okay, it's totally up to that committee whether they have a separate match play index or not. They might feel that their stroke play index is balanced enough that they don't implement a match play index and just stick with the stroke play index. So yeah, that was a great question by Philip. Thank you very much, and excellent work sending that in via a voice message on Anchor. Anchor is where we do the podcast, set out the podcast episodes, and Philip's replied to one of my podcast episodes with that question for the sandbaggers on the Mornington Peninsula. So thank you, Philip. Now Daryl from he sent an email. Golfer A has found Golfer B's ball and also lifted it and identified it as belonging to Golfer B. A slowly put the ball back to the original place. A minute later, Golfer B asked Golfer A for free relief because the ball was embedded into the ground. Question is, will Golfer B get the free relief even though Golfer A was very sure the ball wasn't embedded when he found it? Right, so basically Golfer A has, let's say his name's Jerry, has found the ball and lifted it because he didn't know if it was Golfer B, let's say Stuart. He didn't know if it was Stuart's ball. He said, yep, this is Stuart's ball, put it back, and then Stuart's come over a minute later and said, oh, my ball's embedded. My reply to that was, well, it's either embedded or it's not. You need to work out the facts. And if one's saying 100%, Jerry's saying it wasn't embedded when I picked it up and put it back, and Stuart's saying, well, it's embedded now, you need to find out, did someone push it into the ground, either accidentally or hopefully not deliberately, and go from there. I'd be, if Stuart pushed it into the ground accidentally when he was searching for it, because even though Jerry found it, then Stuart lost it again, effectively couldn't find it, then it's accidental. They've moved the ball at rest. It's no embedded drop. It's they've altered the lie under 14.1. 14.2, and they need to replace the ball. But the facts need to be worked out here, and if it was deliberately pushed in, or they're claiming that it was embedded even though it wasn't, then there's a situation there of someone being a little bit not quite up for a game of golf, as in he's cheating. So, has this happened before? Has this kind of situation with Golfer B happened before? Is it required? Does it need more information or more management by the committee into putting some players with Golfer B to see if they do questionable actions when they play? So, from a rules perspective, work out the facts. Was it embedded or was it not? You've got Golfer A, Golfer B, but Golfer A touched it, so they should know, 100% should know. Golfer B, what were they doing around the ball? If they genuinely hadn't had lost it again, and then moved it during a search, it's okay. There's an exemption from the moving the ball because they were searching for it, and then, as I said, altered lie, blah blah blah. But if it wasn't that, if it was them trying to claim that there was an embedded ball when it either wasn't or they had created the embedded ball, then the committee need to get onto that. I've just seen a query by Stuart in the chat. Is it true that the match play index was not an RNA or USGA creation? Is the match play index that we use in AU used globally? I do believe that it was created by... actually, I'm unaware of who created it, but I just know that I first found out about it in Australia, Stuart. So that leads me to believe that it is an Australian creation. In New Zealand, where I grew up playing, we just used the stroke play index. But the stroke play index was very similar to, and someone might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but the stroke play index was very similar to what they did in Scotland, where they had all the odd numbers on the front nine and all the even numbers on the back nine, and you just found the hardest hole on the front nine, and that was number 1, and you found the easiest, and that was number 17, and on the back nine your hardest hole was number 2, your easiest was number 18, and you worked your way around that. But it seems to have gone out of favour in the latest handicapping, certainly in Australia, the handicapping system. And it's just, it's up to the committee if they still use a match play index or not. I really like it. I also like the double up, the split indexing is what they call it. So the hardest hole may be the 19th hardest hole in an 18-hole course, but not necessarily. It could be the 21st hardest hole. So it could go 1 and 21. So if you're on a 20, you still get a shot on, or 2 shots on that hole. You don't get 2 shots on. If it was 1 and 19, you get 2 shots. If it was 1 and 21, a 20 handicapper wouldn't get 2 shots. Right, Pete Beeman from email. A golfer, and this is a bit of a long one as well. A golfer plays a tee shot and pulls it into some trouble on the left. He announces he will play a provisional, a new Titleist Pro V1 number 4. Forgetting his original ball was also a new Titleist Pro V number 4. This shot typically goes in the same direction as the original. He walks up to the spot where he thinks either ball may be. Indeed, he finds both balls close to each other. One is lying in an unplayable condition in the base of a tree, and the other is playable. Is it impossible? As it is impossible to identify the original ball, what is the ruling? So he's hit his original and his provisional in the same place. Can't work out which one's which. Are they both lost? And the answer is no. You actually get lucky here. You can choose one, and then that one is your provisional. So you now be hitting your 4th shot. But in the case where one is unplayable and one is playable, as decided by the player, they would, you'd be a screw loose if you chose the unplayable one and then had to take another penalty of 1. But the point is, you can't choose the unplayable and say that's my original, and then take the unplayable and say now I'm hitting 3. If you don't know that's your original, if you don't know which ball is which, you can take the provisional. That's your only option, or you can go back to the tee, say they're both lost, and play 5 off the tee. But in this case, because they're right beside each other, you can choose one to use as your provisional. Now be playing your 4th shot. That's in the rule as well. 18.3 under provisional, I'm going to guess. Shouldn't guess. Let's just take it as that is exactly what it is. Corey from Instagram. What counts as a hole-in-one? What counts as a hole-in-one? Well, the amateur status rules about hole-in-ones, they say, you know, if you have a hole-in-one playing a round of golf or in a gimmick type thing, you can take the prize and not lose your amateur status, but the hole must be at least, or the shot must be at least 50 yards. So number one, I'd say the hole has to be at least 50 yards. And then it's, you know, if you did it by yourself, it's a hard thing to count because no one's probably going to believe you, although in golf you should have integrity and honesty to, you know, to not tell, to tell the truth, to not tell a lie. But, you know, the reality is, you know, the hole-in-one should be with someone else and it should be in a competition. Okay? So that is, you know, the reality is if you have a hole-in-one by yourself, which I have, no one's going to believe me, then it doesn't really count. You know, it's one of those asterisk ones. It's one of those, was it really a hole-in-one? You really want to share it with someone, even if it's not with, you're not playing with someone, but at least someone else saw it. But in terms of in a competition, or in terms of putting your name up on the board, I think that's what Corey was getting at. You know, to put your name on the board, you say you had a hole-in-one at this club, then that would definitely have to be in a competition. But outside of this, if you want to say, oh, I've had 2 hole-in-ones or 1 hole-in-one or 7 hole-in-ones, you can say that. No one's going to stop you. But I would say it has to be at least 50 yards and you have to be at least, someone else has to at least seen it. That is how I would deem what a hole-in-one is, you know. Yeah, I actually get this question quite a lot. So there is no such thing. Like, there's no definition anywhere. You won't find one anywhere. So this is, you know, I've just come up with one, and if you disagree, great, tell me. I don't have an issue, but you know, that is how I would see it. It has to be at least 50 yards, and someone else has to have seen it. If you get it on camera, unless it's an amazing Photoshop job or Premiere Pro, you know, it probably counts that way because you can show someone. Does it count if you get one on a whole golf simulator? Well, I tried, and it's actually really tough, so I'd almost say yes. But you know, it wouldn't have the same feeling as that thing rolling in and being able to pick it out of the hole. Okay, I think we'll move on from that one. Comments. Justin, in my last game, I had to hit provisional, found my original ball, but my playing partner said my provisional had gone further and I have to play that one. Please tell me my nephew is wrong. Yeah, as Jerry states, Justin, he is definitely wrong. It's not if your provisional has gone further, it's if you make a stroke at your provisional that is closer to the hole than where your original ball is. And that is if you haven't found your original in the first place. Justin, again, does he mean actual hole-in-one or taking into account stroke index? No, actual hole-in-one, one shot, not you know, having a par with 2 shots on a par 3 or anything like that. It's good to see you here tonight, Justin, and asking questions. Justin's one of the members of Golf Rules Questions YouTube, and you can all become a member. It's $1.49 a month, the minimum. Very cheap. Right, Kerry from Facebook. Can a caddy go into the bunker with the player? Can a caddy go into the bunker with the player? Yes, they can. Do we recommend it? Oh, well, it depends what they're doing, I guess. If they're, you know, standing there and trying to work out the shot, I don't see why not. But the caddy and the player have to realise that they can't rake anything that's going to improve their conditions for the next stroke if they were the ones that worsened the conditions. Okay. Yeah, so you can't obviously, you know, there's all the testing and stuff. You can't test the bunker, but you can go in. But if you make a big footprint in the bunker, you can't then, you know, or your caddy does, you can't then rake it, because then you possibly, you know, it's on your line of play or something like that, or it's right behind your ball or something like that. So a caddy can go into a bunker with a player, but just be careful, I would say. We actually saw my really good friend Fraser Nickel had a great interview with one of the Ryder Cup referees, Mike Raby, and you know, he reiterated what I say as a referee: don't go into a bunker. As a referee, don't go into a bunker. Don't go into a bunker. Don't go into a bunker. We tell every referee that. I've been into a bunker as a referee. So the situation I had, it was really strange. I sort of worked out that this bunker, it was, you know, deep enough, but I didn't think the player would have any issue getting out. But he asked me, he said, "Oh, I've got a little screw, a little, you know, a silver metal screw right beside my ball." And this was a professional tournament, and I thought, I've got to see this. I shouldn't go into a bunker, but I've really got to see this. So I go into the bunker. I try to stay away, and luckily it's sort of been wet that night, and the bunker had sort of been a little bit more compact. And anyway, I go in and I tried to stay away from the ball as much as I could. And I look down, and here's this, you know, there's this line, it's like a little plus sign across. And I go, and I looked at it and I was like, nah, that's not a screw. And he sort of looked at me like, oh, what are you talking about? I said, no, that's definitely not a screw. That's a gum nut. And there was a tree, like a gum tree. We get a lot of them in Australia. It was a gum tree, obviously dropping these gum nuts. He's from England or somewhere like that, and didn't know what a gum nut was. And I said, no, that's just a piece of wood off the tree. Anyway, the funniest thing was he played the shot, got the ball out, maybe 8 foot, something like that. And everyone was looking in the group. Everyone was looking, and the gum nut fell on the green. And everyone rushed over to see this little piece of wood, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a gum nut from the tree. It was the funniest thing ever. Absolutely one of my favourite all-time memories. So, but other than my mistake, learn from my mistake. Don't go in a bunker as a referee. Justin, I heard you can have a practice in the bunker and touch the sand as long as it is far enough away from your ball. Is this a new rule? No, that's incorrect, Justin. You're not allowed to have a practice in the bunker that your ball is in. Okay? If your ball's in there, you're not allowed to practice in that bunker. And by practice, because obviously you can have a practice swing and just be, swinging and hitting air. By practice in that manner, I mean you're not allowed to have a practice where you actually hit the sand. Okay? But I said the bunker. If you've got, I've got a piece of paper here. If you've got a bunker here, and a bunker here, and the green's over here, and your ball's in this bunker, and you go in and practice in this bunker, and it's been separated by the fairway, there's no penalty if you practice in that bunker, as long as it's not improving your conditions, which if your ball's over here, it wouldn't be if your line is to the flag. So there'd be no penalty, because that's the bunker your ball's in, and that's a bunker. Okay? I know it sounds a little bit confusing. If they were connected, that would be the bunker, but they're not. They're separated by fairway, so it's the bunker and a bunker. And practicing in that one would be okay, but please don't waste time. Please don't delay play. Okay, I hope that helps, Justin. Going back to the embedded ball, what happens if player A or player B accidentally treads on player B's ball when it becomes embedded? Is the ball dropped within 1 club length? No, Nigel, that is recreated. If the lie has been altered, so let's say, I don't have a ball with me right now, but let's say the ball was sitting here and then it's been pushed in by someone standing on it or someone wheeling their buggy over it, then the lie has been altered. So you can't actually place it on top of that because the lie has been altered, and you're not allowed to recreate your lie unless it was in sand, but that's another story. So you'd actually go, okay, here's a green over here, the green's over here. You'd actually go place it in the nearest most similar lie within 1 club length, bang, okay, or bang, nearest most similar lie, and that's under 14.2, and I'm gonna say E. I always get E and D mixed up, but 14.2 E, I always like to guess, and no, got it wrong. See, D, 14.2 D, where to replace ball when original lie altered anywhere except in sand, within 1 club length from its original spot, no nearer the hole, and in the same area of the course. Okay, so you don't drop it, you just replace it in or place it in the nearest most similar lie within 1 club length, no nearer the hole. Hang on. The video seems to telling me it's an excellent connection, but it's telling me that has. Can everyone see me? Everything seems to be working, but apart from YouTube. Stream health. Hang on, I'll just turn off the streaming and start back. Oh, you can see me, but it's telling me there's an error occurred. Oh, well, if you stop seeing me, please let me know, because I can't see myself. Oh, that's so weird. Okay, moving on. Next question. Anyone else got a question? Justin, yes. What happens if you run out of balls during a game? Great question. Great question, Justin. My friend Charlotte asked me this during the week. You can borrow balls, okay? If you run out of golf balls, you can borrow balls. And if no one wants to lend you a ball, bad luck. You can't finish your game, so you're going to be DQ'd. Or if it's a Stableford round and you've got through 13 holes, then the last 5 holes are wipes. So if you've lost all your golf balls, you're probably not playing that well anyway. So that's fine. Yeah, so if you run out of golf balls during game, plead, beg, get your cash out, and yeah, hopefully someone will give you a ball. Now, if it's a 1 ball rule, or they changed it, it's not 1 ball rule, is it? The name, I always stuff up the name. I think equipment is G. Well, yeah, it is 1 ball rule. If there's 1 ball rule and you'll need to borrow a ball, you better make sure it's the same ball. Asking for a friend. Okay, Stuart. Phrases. Rule 3.3b refers to a marker. Too many golfers believe the marker has special authority over the player. Almost act as a referee. They have 2 jobs only. Phrases like the marker allowed him to take a drop have no place in stroke play events. There are ways to deal with a dispute. I'm sure this isn't on professional tours, as they call the referee. However, at club level, it can be. Your thoughts on the marker. Sorry for running through Stuart's question, but you can see it in the chat there. So what Stuart's getting at is, what is the role of a marker? Well, the role of a marker is to make sure that the score that the player signs for is correct and accurate. That's the role of a marker. Make sure that the player has played under the rules of golf. played with integrity, and behaved well out in the golf course. Now, it's not their role, and this is what Stuart's getting at, it's not their role to be the police. It's not the role of the marker to fine a player, to be the judge. All it is of the role of the marker is to be the eyes of the committee, effectively. So the eyes and ears of the committee. And if the marker doesn't believe that the player has played under the rules of golf, or played, behaving as they should, they just tell the committee. I didn't think that they, the player was playing the best, playing under the rules. On this hole they did this, and they tell the committee. The committee is the ones that then make the decision, not the marker. It's the committee that makes the decision, and they say, from the facts, we get the facts from the marker, we get the facts from the player, we get the facts from as many people as we can that were there. From the facts, the player was okay. Or from the facts, you have a lot to explain, we believe you were cheating. And cheating, we're going to, obviously you're DQ'd, but we're also going to suspend you from these competitions for 3 months or 6 months or something like that. So the marker, let's think of it like this. The marker is the eyes and ears of the committee. That's all. They're not there to, tell the player what to do. If the player thinks that they are doing the right thing, then they're more than welcome to ask for assistance from the marker or other players. But if they think they're doing the right thing, then they can just carry on, And if the marker says, no, you can't do that, that's fine. If the marker believes that, they just tell the committee afterwards. They don't huff and puff until the player does exactly what they say. They just say, I don't think you can do that. Let's talk to the committee afterwards. You please yourself as to what you do, but let's talk to the committee afterwards. That's how it should work. Justin, what if your marker thinks he knows the rules but really has no idea, or is my nephew? Are the cards signed? See, this is it. This is exactly what Stuart's getting at, and great follow-up question is, okay, the marker doesn't believe that the player played under the rules of golf, or doesn't believe that they did what was, counted their score correctly. The marker tells the committee, says, I believe it was a 6 on that hole. The player has written down a 5 and is telling me, and I still don't believe him, I'm not going to sign the card. The committee goes, okay, the marker hasn't signed the card. Let's talk to the marker. What do you think the player did? Tee shot, hit under the fairway, into the trees, hit into the fairway, hit into a bunker, 2 shots in a bunker, 1 putt. And then they said to the player, hit in the trees, hit into the fairway, hit in the bunker, 1 shot in the bunker, 1 putt. So there's a discrepancy there. Now, there's no problem that the marker hasn't signed the card. The committee says, who's right, who's wrong. They have to make a decision. And then if the marker, if they say, we're going to side with the player had 5, the marker says, well, I'm not signing the card. That's fine. The committee can sign the card. So that's how it works. Okay, so great question there, Stuart. Eyes and ears. That's the easiest way. Right, have we got any other questions? That's already been half an hour. So any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to shut up shop for the night. I did a recording of the podcast. I've just got to process some of the chat and the video, and I'll get that out. I'll probably get that out next week. So you'll miss out on a podcast this week, but you'll get it next week. And the drop zone, the newsletter that I send out, that should be arriving in your email inbox tomorrow morning. So the drop zone, the weekly fun little newsletter I send out, that'll be coming out tomorrow. The podcast next week, and of course, keep watching the YouTube clips and asking me questions. You know, because the YouTube clips, they provide lots of information, but there's always different nuances in the rules as to, you know, something happening. So thank you everyone for tuning in. That was really good. I was just thinking, I don't know why I wear headphones, because I'm not listening to anyone else other than myself. But that's something funny for you. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and without rules, it's chaos.